Hi there, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Julie Garner, one of our students through the Social Media Magic program. And she's also the owner of a wonderful women's shop. She's going to tell us all about that, and an outdoor shop as well. She's going to tell us all about that. She's the supplier of all of our beautiful star scarves that go in our fast action bonus boxes, our fab boxes. So Julie, wonderful to have you on today.
Thank you.
So tell us about your businesses and how you got them started. We know you've had to pivot a lot through the coronavirus, but talk to us about what you've done and also how you've been using social media to promote your business.
Okay, so I started my business originally back in 2009. At the time, I was living on Sandringham Estate with my other half, and in the financial crisis, my property business, I needed to pivot. So he came up with the idea that maybe an outdoor clothing shop based at the visitor centre. So we started in what was a St John's ambulance cupboard, believe it or not, 3 meters by 3 meters. Started that there, did very well. We opened a second shop at Holcombe, which is up on the coast, a couple of years later, and then we opened Rocks and Barnes, gallery clothing at Rocks and Barnes, a couple of years after that. And the business built the business, to the point where my target was to turn over £500,000, which we did. And it's really built on visitors to the area. It's not, we're in destinations. We're lucky not to be on the high street because that's really tough. But my partner was then headhunted for a job in Dorset, which meant this ideal situation where I had a wonderful life-work balance. I had a brilliant business that never, I wasn't ever going to be a millionaire, but I had a really nice balance to it. We then moved to Dorset, and that completely tipped the balance. And so I made the decision at the end of last year that I needed to make some changes. And so I looked at TechPixies in order to do that. And what I wanted to do was create a new role within my business that would enable me to support the business, promote the business, but stay at home. So I did, I did my visualisation and I did my Canva board. And I learned a lot from that. Be more specific in your goals, because my goal was to spend more time at home. And then lockdown hit, and I've never been home so much in all my life. So yeah,
be careful what you ask for, right?
Exactly. Get very careful what you ask for. I wanted to spend more time at home and more time with my family. My daughter flew home from Spain on the last flight out and was then there for 3 months, 4 months, or whatever it was. So yes, I saw lots of my family. But
you got all of your goals.
Yeah, I did. So I was doing really well with TechPixies and really enjoying it. And then obviously when lockdown hit, I just had to try and find out how I was going to support the business. And I jumped in very, very quickly, built a website, which I would never, ever have even thought of doing from scratch until I'd done the TechPixies course. But in hindsight, when I look at my ladies, everyone thinks that a website is the be end all and end all, and I should have just took a step back and maybe looked at just using social media rather than building this website, because I took a step back from TechPixies to help my business, and if anything, doing that in hindsight probably hindered it.
But what we know about trying things, right, is that here's the thing. If you didn't do the website, you would sit there every day and go, well, what if I'd done the website, right?
Exactly.
So there's this beautiful thing of like taking action. And I love that you said that. I just took action. I just built this website. I got it up there. And the thing is that then you have the learning from that, right? First of all, you know how to build a website, you did it. But second of all, you then realize, oh, I can actually do this through social media. And so, you did learn from it, even if it wasn't the thing that you decided to go forwards with. But actually, one of the benefits of TechPixies is that if you have to stop, you can. And if you want to pick it back up, you can, because you've got a whole year to complete the program. What we promise is if you want to complete it in 90 days, you can. But sometimes life happens and you had to pivot really fast and focus on business, but you've actually been able to come back and do stuff that you've needed to do since. So tell me how you moved. So you made this realization that the website wasn't necessarily the thing, but social media was. That said, when you set up your social media, did you connect it back to your website so that you had the shopping on, like, let's say Instagram?
Um, Part of the thing is that I have the added complication of an EPOS system. So if you imagine across two shops, the last thing on earth you want to do is sell something you haven't got, because that really hacks people off. So I have a very sophisticated EPOS system. So marrying an EPOS system to a website, the only real website that I can do that with ease is Shopify. So Shopify have one set of images. So I created all my images the right size. Shopify, sent the Shopify to Facebook, and then you had sort of an image of, you know, that much of the dress and that much of and it's just like, oh my God, what have I done? So I then take it all down, and as I say, it's like anything, it isn't simple, but if I have the time to sit and go through things, the
Yeah.
difference is I can do it. I'm of an age where if I have a new piece of knowledge that is not put into place literally every day and used every day for a week, when I come to use it again, it's gone. It's back here. Yeah, it's just disappeared. So for me, TechPixies, the technical video library is just it just saves me, because I don't have to sit through 2.5 hours of something to find the 30 seconds that I need. So I'm constantly referring back to that. I find that
And what
really,
you're talking about is basically for every network that we teach, we
yeah,
have the short videos that just give you the overview of how to set up your profile and, you know, kind of what's important with the algorithm and how to post properly and the different ways you can post. But the technical videos are actually the literal click by click, step by step how to breakdowns of absolutely everything. If you want to edit this, if you want to change that, if you want to do this, and they're very thorough.
they are. And the thing is, so often you have to go back and do something. It's something that you did quite easily the first time. You know, I've had to relaunch 2 businesses in the last 6 months. It is exhausting. And I sit and beat myself up about the fact I can't remember. Well, how can I not remember that? I did it quite simply last time. But to be able to go back there and ask, you know, to go through and look at it and find it. And if not, have this amazing community that you can ask, who never judge them. You know, I'm sure they sit there thinking, oh, for God's sake, woman.
No,
But
no, we
never
have
say
a no
it.
judging
No,
rule.
but you know what I mean? It's fantastic. Nobody, you never feel like you're asking a stupid question. You can ask a question because chances are somebody else is sitting there wanting to know the answer to the same thing. So I find that bit of TechPixies. My frustration with TechPixies is that the timing of it for me, and I guess the frustration isn't with TechPixies, it's with the timing. I just feel so annoyed that I never got that opportunity to stick with it at the time and go through that, you know, having to dip in and out of it. But the great thing is, it is possible to do that, and I will continue to do it. You know, I'm at work today. I'm actually in the stationery cupboard at work today doing this video. You know, so like I've got shops, other people have children, other people have families to, you know, to worry about. So I do find the being able to dip in and out, being able to catch something, you know, on the next time round is a great thing. Being able to concentrate on the particular platforms that you think are for you first, rather than trying to learn, you know, everything about Twitter and think, well, actually for business, that isn't going to help me. So yeah, I still have quite a bit to do, but yeah, it is very good. I'm enjoying it, and it is helpful, and I've done some things that I would never dreamt. You know, I've done some stop go videos on Instagram that have worked for the new launch. We're launching a new part of the shop, so as we built that part of the shop, I would never have looked at doing anything like that before.
I love that. So you've been doing some behind the scenes things to kind of warm people up to what's happening in the shop.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So talk to me as well about, you know, I know it can be frustrating to, want to start and finish something, right? But I think the reason we built it in a way that you could come back to it when you need is because it's almost impossible to have uninterrupted life, right? Like life is life. I mean, we have women whose parents get ill, whose children get ill. I mean, my child's home for 2 weeks because one of the kids in his class got COVID, and it's like, so our whole life, I mean, I was beating myself up. I mean, I love that you said that you were beating yourself up. I was beating myself up, and this morning I had this realization because I was really tired, and I've been working for, I don't know, like almost, well, I feel like a lifetime, but definitely very concentrated for the last, let's say 45 days or so. I'm a neuro coach as well, as you know, and I always do my 67-day brain work, brain priming, where I'm priming what I want in my life to happen. And one of the things I've been priming is self-discipline, going to bed before midnight, doing my brain work every day, getting my run in. Like those are the 3 things that I'm concentrated on, brain work, running, going to bed by midnight, and playing music. I started playing the ukulele. You can see my ukulele back there. So I have another little tick list. I try and play a little bit of music every day as well, which is brand new to me because I haven't played a musical instrument for 30 years. So it's a big deal to like play an instrument and have something to distract me from work and other things. But what I was beating myself up because I was like, I haven't been to bed before midnight in a week. And I had been going to bed for midnight for over 30 days in a row. It was a huge accomplishment, something that I thought I'd never stop doing in my life. And then this morning I was really kind of, why am I so tired? Why am I going to bed late again? And it was like, oh, wait, hold on. My son's been home for 2 weeks, right? So my husband and I are tag teaming between the 2 of us on who's taking care of him. So all the work that I would normally be doing with him, I'm now doing at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. And that's carries on, as late as it needs to go to get the work done. So it's very interesting, that you say that it gets frustrating to not be able to finish something in the way that you wanted to finish it. And like me, like I'm frustrated with not getting to go to bed when I want to go to bed, but I also know it's a season. And I think that's really important, is to recognize it's a season, that we go through things and we have a choice as to how long we let them affect us. We have a choice as to how long we beat ourselves up about them. Right. So I think forgiveness for ourselves is so, so important. And this morning when I was finally had a little bit of a decent night's sleep, I had 7 hours of sleep last night. I woke up feeling refreshed. I thought, oh, of course I'm not getting sleep. My whole world changed for 2 weeks. Right. And actually we're just about to get used to the system. And then he goes back to school tomorrow. So I can go back to my life tomorrow. But it's hard for him too. And I think it's just recognizing that life is life, and recognizing that, that if you want to finish something, you will come back and finish it. And actually sometimes you just need to get what you need too. Right. And you can tap into whatever you need whenever you need it because you've still got the access to it.
Yeah.
Well, you've been a wonderful student to have in the program, and it's been amazing to watch you go through all of these transitions. Do you remember when you started the program?
Yeah, I started it in January.
Yes, so you're coming up to that full year.
Yeah. So I started in January, as I say, and I think a lot of people when I started, I was on cohort 19. So I started in the January, and lots of people were looking to start a business, change careers, as your program sort of lots of people are doing that. I had my business, and I knew the role that I wanted within my own business. So it was I was a little bit different in that, but we were all in the same boat. When I started it, for me, I was in the pharmaceutical industry many years ago, and so coaching, I had a personal coach within the industry. All of that kind of stuff was very important, and for years we were taught our technical the technical information we needed, but more importantly it was the mind coaching of getting us in the right frame of mind to do the work. When you start your own business, that's quite tough, because it's quite, yes, being your own boss and everything else has its pluses, but it is also quite a lonely place to be. And it's also, it's tiring. In between, I did the Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins in London a couple of years before that. But I'd got out of the habit of thinking about me and coaching myself and attitudes and everything else. And for me, that was a really important bit of TechPixies. It wasn't just the technical knowledge, it was actually getting back onto that train, if you like, and remembering that, and some of it's corny, but no matter how corny it is, whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you're probably right. All of that jazz it's true.
True.
And every single morning you get up, and the discipline, I'm not great with discipline. I tend to sort of
Yet.
mind is all over the place. Everything is always going on at 100 miles an hour. Finding that discipline. So having that mindset coaching and different things was a big help. And quite interesting, because I found something a couple of days ago. So when I first started, you sent me a beautiful pink TechPixies book, which, because I'd missed a couple of days, I left a bit of a page here to go back and do this. And so I had lots of gaps, and I hadn't really flicked through. And because I'm starting again, I went right the way through, and I found the visualization exercise, which I don't even remember doing. Okay.
Wow.
But how weird is this? So I opened the page, visualization, and eventually I remember doing it, and I remember what I had to do. I had to look forward and see where I was going to be, what I was going to be. And I really struggled with that, because our lives have changed so much. If you'd asked me, would we ever leave Sandringham? No, I didn't think we ever would. But it was really interesting. So I saw myself living on the side of a cliff, okay, in a house with trees behind it, elegant but small. It was, I won't go into the full description, but anyway, that's where I was going to be, and I would be pottering. Right, I don't potter. I don't get the chance to potter. I aspire to potter. Anyway, so there I am in this visualization, right? Okay. And something I haven't really said, I think I might have mentioned it to Pip only because of where she lives. So this summer, my other half, we went off to an auction in Porthcurno in Cornwall, and we bid on a property in Porthcurno. 3 times we went over the top of what we were supposed to be paying, but never mind. We bought this property, and if I sent you a photograph of this property, it is on the side of a cliff.
No!
Trees behind it. I'm going all goose pimply now.
I've got goosebumps.
Trees behind me. Honestly, it's just bizarre. And I swear to you on my life, I haven't thought about that visualization exercise since I did it, because obviously I was on to the next exercise and everything else. But the power of your subconscious mind. I mean, I do use my subconscious mind a lot. There's just stupid things like, as I go to bed, I'll say, right, in the morning, can you tell me where I put those keys? And when I get up in the morning, as long as I listen first thing, I will know where the keys are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 mornings. Yeah, I do get that. This visualization thing is, honestly, it's just absolutely amazing. So this is our dream home. It's where we're going to retire to. It's everything. It hasn't got a roof on part of it, but it is everything we, look, how weird is that? So there you go.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think it's weird at all. No. Because you're not the first person who's told me that. We do it at the very, very beginning. It's the very first exercise. There's a bunch of questions you answer afterwards, and it's extremely powerful. And every time I use that exercise for a couple different things. I use it to make a decision. So like if I have a really big decision to make, because what you do in the exercise is you go and you meet your future self. So Jess Rogers filmed it, and actually it's on YouTube for free. If you just go and search TechPixies Life Coaching Toolkit, it's video 3, and I use it. I literally use it all the time. Whenever I need to make a major decision, I go into myself and ask myself, that future self, what would you do in this situation? Would you do this or would you do this? And you have to be very specific, but you'll usually get an answer, yes, I would do this, or yes, I would do that. And tapping into the strength of your future self. But also, it can be hard to go and visualize something that you don't know about yet. But that's the magic of the visualization, because once you get into that really grounded place and your eyes are shut and you're just cut off from the rest of the world, there is an agenda in you and it just wants to tell you what it is, right? I've had two very powerful experiences with it where I was just kind of visualizing my future, and one of them was going to Africa, and one of them was going to Scotland, you know. And of course I love Scotland, and I love going back to Scotland, and that's a place for me that's you know, it's a place I can go and think, and I can go and read, and I can go and get away, and I really love that. And so there's something pulling me to Scotland, just like there's something pulling you to Cornwall. But I think also with you know, Africa, it's somewhere I've always wanted to go. And in the last one that I did, I went, so I've been to Africa twice in my visualization. And in the last one, you know, I got this really beautiful handcrafted wooden box from a very old woman, a very wise old woman. And it was really special. I was so emotional talking about it, because there's part of me that knows that that is going to happen one day, you know, that I'm going to meet that woman that I've been dreaming about for years. So it's really, I think those visualizations are so powerful. And I think it speaks to the fact that, you know, yes, social media is part of TechPixies. It's what you've been learning to do, and you're getting some traction with the social media, and you realize the power of social media for your business, and you've created that role where you're doing the social media for your business. But also I think it speaks to the fact that it's not just about social media, you know, it's about changing your life. And I mean, what a change that is, you know, and what an incredible thing to have happen, where something you've been dreaming about really comes true.
Yeah, it was just, as I say, I'd forgotten that I'd written that down. It's, you know, I'm not saying I've forgotten that what I wanted, but I'd forgotten, and it made me think and put a place, you know, it made it very vivid. It is, and it's really weird, because the one thing I do remember after we bought the property, I mean, bearing in mind, we bought this property having viewed it for 10 minutes. That's all we were allowed, was 10 minutes because of COVID. We weren't allowed to go in together, because we needed somebody with us who could tell us something. So only two people were allowed in. So my other half went in with the builder. I then went in with a friend who's a builder. And then we bought it. And so when we went back, knowing it was ours, it was really bizarre, because it was as if I knew this place. And I said that to my other half. I said, this is really weird. It's like I've been here before. And, you know, he looked at me and went, yeah, well, you have been. We viewed it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I mean, I've really been here before. And, you know, that man thing, the glaze over. Yeah. So it was strange. It was like I'd been there before. And it's like I'm supposed to be there. When I go there, you know, having bought it and paid far too much, you know, not far too much, but far much more than we ever dreamt we were going to pay for it. The fear, I thought that when I got there I would feel fear and be frightened of it, and that it was going to, you know, be this hole that I'll throw money into, and no doubt it will be, but I've never felt that fear. I've done projects before where they filled me with fear, and not nice fear, you know what I mean, just that, you know, that it's going to be constant, whereas I don't feel that here. You know, even when we went in and there were mushrooms growing through the bedrooms and the ceilings were in, I never felt that fear. I just felt like I'd come home, and that was quite bizarre. And it wasn't until I actually looked at this in my little pink book, that so yes, it has been it's a really, and it is quite a difficult exercise to do. I'd done that kind of thing before, but I'd got out of the habit of doing it. And like lots of things that are easy, you know, they're easy to do, but it's just as easy not to do it. And I got to that point where I wasn't doing you know, the thing that I should be doing. So you feel a bit stupid doing the exercise. I think a lot of people on that, you know, that cohort 19, a lot of people did say they felt very uncomfortable and they were going to come back to it. And for a little while I did feel like that, but I'm glad I did it, and I'm really glad that it worked. So
Yeah, well, I think that's an amazing story, and it's so much fun. One of the things I love about doing these podcasts is I get these little surprises, these little gifts, you know, where someone's done something and then it's, you know, they've made a decision and it's changed the trajectory of their life, and it's just so exciting, you know. And I love that Jess shared that visualization exercise with us so many years ago, and that we can still use it because it's very, very powerful. Julie, thank you so much for your time. If you were talking to someone who is on the fence about joining TechPixies, what would you say to them?
um I think the main thing is that it's a journey. The learning is a journey. Okay. And whether you intend doing that as an express journey or taking your time and a scenic journey, the important thing is the ticket. And I really believe that I have bought a first class ticket with TechPixies. I've used that analogy before. I started my journey, it's been halted, the train was cancelled at Leeds, I've had to get off and wait, swap platforms, I've had to do all of that. But I still believe that the ticket I have in my wallet will get me where I need to be, no matter how long that takes. And that for me is important, knowing that I can get back on the train, know that there's somebody, who's going to help me to help find me where my seat is. I think if you use that analogy as a journey, it's a journey that everyone will take for different reasons. There are people who want to be social media managers. There are people who want to do something with their business. There are people who want to be influencers. There are so many reasons to do the course, but the actual nitty gritty of it, being able to jump in and out of it, being able to find the information when you need it, because that's the important thing. I know that if I'm looking for how do I do this with Facebook, I've got a Facebook module, there's TVLs there, and I can go and I can pin it down. I might have to watch two, I might have to watch the same one 15 times, but it's there. But also it is the community. The community is amazing. I've never, as a woman in business on your own, often you do feel a little bit out on a limb, as a small business. And so, yeah, it is like being part of a big community. So yeah, I would say definitely give it a go. I'm the most undisciplined, probably the worst student in the whole wide world, and I'm getting there. I can't see how anybody can not give it a go.
I love it, Julie. Thank you. And I think one day you're going to stop telling yourself the story that you're undisciplined, because you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I was just listening to a podcast this morning about another podcast, and it was talking about the stories we tell ourselves. And it was saying, we tell ourselves one story, which is I'm not self-disciplined. I don't have self-discipline. Yet, there's a lot of really great things going on in your life, right? So there's a lot of, you've been able to build a successful business. You've, been able to raise, a child that's self-sufficient. You've been able to get your dream home. There's quite a few things that even though you would describe yourself as not self-disciplined, you're still able to get the things that you want in life, partly because, and I can relate to this, the self-discipline goes out the window in order to do those things.
Exactly.
Right? So, yeah. But then I think that that's where you can shift the story, because when a thought repeated over and over again becomes a belief. This is what I've learned in my neurocoaching course. And I've just taken my neurocoaching exam. So I'm now a master neurocoach. So I obviously have answered these questions correctly. But one of the things that we know is that a situation causes you to have a thought. And then that thought repeated over and over again becomes a belief, right? And that's your identity. That's where the identity forms of I am not a self-disciplined person. And then every time you say I'm not a self-disciplined person over and over and over again, that solidifies the belief. So one of the most important things we can do, particularly as women who are successful in business and in life, if that's how, more or less you feel, then it's also to change the story. And just, and I remember I had dinner with Dame Stephanie Shirley at the House of Lords. It was a private dinner. And I said to her, did you ever get the balance right? This like life work balance. And she goes, no, I never got it right. Right. And she ran a 3 billion, her company now is 3 billion pounds, right? She's worth 150 million pounds. She has done incredible work for autistic children all over the UK, if not the world, with the research that she's doing. As a result of the money she made, she put all of that money into autism because her son was autistic, severely autistic, and died young. But I think that it's the story you tell yourself, right? And it's how that story changes. And the thing I was listening to this morning, this person was saying, well, my mother made all my decisions, like she controlled everything I did, and I never had control of my situation. And the person who was talking to the coach said to her, well, could you tell that story a different way? And what would you tell it as a different story? And she said, well, now that I think about it, my mom was the oldest of 7 children, and she felt responsible for her 7 siblings. She was in charge of her 7 siblings. So I suspect that she was just trying to control me to keep me safe and to keep me protected, right? And to take care of me. And he's like, yeah. So those are your 2 stories. You can say my mom controlled my life, or you can say my mom wanted me to be safe and protected.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we can say I have no self-discipline, which I look, Julie, I get that one, right? Or we can say something different. And I think the point is that you and I both, we've both built big businesses, and we both know what that's like to focus on the business in order to keep it going and to grow it, right? But there is actually a type of discipline it takes to do that too.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of both of us. This is a great opportunity for both of us to rewrite that story and say that we are disciplined in different ways.
Yeah. I guess, like everything, we always want what we see in someone else. You see somebody who seems to manage to get everything. They always look wonderful. They always this, they always that. They're, meet Mike, he swims like a fish, that kind of thing. And I guess the interesting thing would be is what their impression is of us. You know what I mean? And they're probably sitting there, oh my God, she manages to do this, this, and this. But it is, I get what you're saying, and I do need to stop telling myself I'm not disciplined. I'm spinning so many plates, I guess, that my mind is all over, and because of that I interpret that as not being disciplined enough to sit and actually attack one thing at a time. The only thing I am starting to realize is that if you don't do that, then you end up doing so many things halfway through, stop, and then have to do that again and start at the beginning. And so for that reason, when I say so my story changing it is that I need to concentrate and get one thing done all the way to the end, whatever that is. I mean, it's literally, I don't mean TechPixies, because that was never going to happen in that way, but individual tasks every day. I will be halfway through something and all of a sudden I think, oh my God, and I'm off to do that. But what happens is I then come back to the thing I was doing and I have to start that right at the very beginning. So I need the discipline to say no to something. I need the discipline to say no to people. And often that is tough. The thing of saying, be careful when you say yes to other people, you're not saying no to yourself. I say yes to other people all the time. And I don't really want to change that, but I need to get some balance.
There's a great book you might really like called Deep Work, which I'm working through at the moment. And actually, it's very interesting because I get that balance of needing deep work that's undistracted time and the ability to be available to your team and to people who need you and need answers from you, right? So it's that balance. But what I love about the book is he actually talks about management styles, and he talks about there's some CEOs that love to be out buzzing, talking to everybody, just hearing everything, and then they can take all of that and make decisions off of that, and they're, that's important to them. And then he talks a lot about programmers, where really to get good deep work, good programming work done, they need to shut themselves off from everything else. And so I think it's also recognizing the skill set and exactly that, just changing the story and saying, actually, my ability to multitask in a way, my ability to do multiple things, because I do that as well. And I think that comes with the territory, being an entrepreneur, running a team, my ability to do multiple things is an asset. And then it's saying, if I really want to get something done to completion, then I need to set aside the time undistracted to do that. And actually, once you've done that a few times, then you've got the self-discipline to do that if you need to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got the ability to choose at the moment what is the best thing to move you forwards. Right. And that's also the sign of a good CEO. Do I need to go and do some deep work and shut myself off from the team right now for a period of time to get something completed? And what does that look like? And how long is it going to take me? That was one thing I loved, was learning how you can set a time limit on something. When I started working with, because I used to say, oh, I have terrible time management. And actually, it wasn't that I had terrible time management. I just didn't understand how to work with time, and the thing that I learned from my time management coach was you need to tell yourself how long it's going to take you to do the task. And then you set aside the time on your calendar, and you break it down into smaller chunks, and you say, okay, this can take me 4 hours to do. And I'm going to get the first done in 15 minutes, and the second one done in 15 minutes, the third one done in 15 minutes, and really break it down. Because also when you break a task down, it doesn't overwhelm you, and you don't get, totally sidetracked. I think as well, what helps is having a notebook, right? Just having a notebook. And so if something else comes up, you just write down. I have this book that has my to-do list, and anytime something comes up, I just throw it on there. And then right next to it, it has the universe's to-do list, right? So
Right.
God's to-do list. And I always put God's to-do list, but it's the universe's to-do list, whatever. And I put things on there that I have no control over, that I've got to let go to the universe and just say, I need this solved. And I love going back on previous weeks, and I can actually cross things off, and I can say, yes or no, or this was taken care of or that wasn't taken care of. And it's so great to kind of go back and do that. And I love that exercise. But the other exercise that I love, this is it's Kate Northrup's book. It's called Do Less. But the other book and she has a book called Do Less, actually. But there's another part on this that's on the weekly tasks and then the daily tasks. And on the daily tasks, it asks 3 questions. What went really great today? And I love how she asked that question. What went really great? So you have to really identify what went great. And then what didn't go so great, and what did you learn from it? Which I also love. This goes back to, like, you built this website, and okay, what did you learn from it? Right? It might not have been the result you wanted, but what did you learn from it? And what you said earlier was, I learned that I could do stuff with social media and it would be just as effective. And that's, that was your learning. So
Yep.
know now, right? And then the last thing is, what are you grateful for? And I love that she closes with, what are you grateful for? And it's not like oh, I'm grateful for, my friends, my family, my house, my car, whatever. It's actually like, what about the day were you grateful for? And we had Thanksgiving on the weekend. This is being recorded on the 3rd of December 2020. We had Thanksgiving on the weekend because they don't do Thanksgiving in the UK properly. But we made, I made, for the first time ever, I made my own cranberry sauce. And it was this mix of cinnamon and orange and cranberry and sugar. And, anyway, there was this smell just coming up, and I had my daughter come over, and I was like, you've got to smell this. This is amazing. And I was so proud of myself. Number 1, that I made the cranberry sauce from scratch. Number 2, the smell was just amazing. And I was just so grateful for the ability to have that moment where I could smell the cranberry sauce, and I could have my daughter with me, and we could have that moment together, and I know that when she's older, she'll have a moment.
Remember it.
Yeah. And she'll have the moment with her daughter, or her son or whatever, and it's like, you're passing something on to someone else too. But I love those questions. But I think rewriting our story is so important, and telling ourselves a new story. And when we catch ourselves saying, I'm such a procrastinator, or I'm so undisciplined or whatever, you have to say, stop it, Joy. Stop it, Julie. I am this. And what are you? You are not that. I am this. I am Julie, the person who can multitask and run 3 shops and build a dream home, and all those things that you can do.
Yeah.
Because you're an incredible woman, and I'm so grateful that you're in our community.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And I hope you have a wonderful rebuild of your gorgeous house. And I do think that there's an Instagram feed in there. I think we all want to see the house unfold.
I did wonder about that, to be honest. So I've done some videos and bits and pieces, and a bit like your car though, Joy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that thing of getting the balance right, that it's not showing off or whatever. I've worked hard for this, and I deserve it, let me tell you. But what you don't want to do is it's special, and I don't want to feel uncomfortable about that. So I haven't said anything about it. As I say, I mentioned it to Pip only because she's in Cornwall, and I think I was driving down to Cornwall at the time. So it is that thing of feeling comfortable with it. Don't get me wrong, I have a nice home in Durham. We live in a very nice house where we live, but it isn't our home. It comes with my other half's job, and it's beautiful. But this, it is special. So I am thinking about that, because it is quite funny, the state of the place at the moment, as I say, with mushrooms in the wardrobe and things. not even in the kitchen. That's the frustrating thing.
But there's the beauty, Julie, because you can show the ugly duckling that becomes a swan,
Yeah.
right? And you can show that you can, and that's the thing. I think you're not showing the end product, you're showing the transformation.
Yeah.
And there's so many lessons in that transformation.
Oh, there will be, trust me. There already is. We had to cut our way in. It was like something out of a Sleeping Beauty, the Mile and a Half with a chainsaw, sort of going through. And we went down. You physically couldn't get down the drive because everything had overgrown across the front of it. So yeah, I am looking forward to it, and it'll be something other than work. You know what I mean? It's there'll be a lot of work to do, but it's not the same. Yeah.
Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
No matter what you decide, that would be, you know, we'd love to go on that journey with you. Tell us where people can find out more about your shops. They can buy from you. Where's the best place to find you?
Okay, so we have a website, everythingoutdoor.co.uk. We have Instagram and Facebook, Everything Outdoor UK. And then we have our fashion offering, which is at Gallery Clothing, Rocks and Barnes. And it's difficult having all this mix. And in a shop, it works because we have so many different people who come through the door. And I think that's one of the big things when you try and move a physical business that appeals to lots of people because of where it is. Online, our audiences are so different. So for instance, and this is the dilemma I have every day, or you know what I mean? It's not. Or
I want the star earring. My husband wants the hiking boots.
You go, a dress.
Yeah.
Or a man's gilet. Do you know what I mean? So,
which, by the way, my husband has that gilet and he loves it. He wears it all the time. So,
but what the only reason I'm trying to, this is where I sit, and this is where I go into my procrastination. So are we going to do that for this for that? And it is difficult. So what I would say is a learning point: choose a business that goes in one direction if you're going to take it online, because my audiences are very different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got the outdoor audience and then you've got the women's fashion audience.
Yeah, and they are very different. So I can't post for both
together.
And spinning both is quite tough. But yeah, check it out if you like outdoor clothing. Obviously the Everything Outdoor fashion, and then sort of this kind of stuff is all crossover. We do lots of, this kind of Christmassy type.
Tweed, yeah, you've got I'm just describing it for listening to the podcast, the tweed blankets and
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Joy.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.